Homesteaders is a game that I've wanted for quite a while. It is one of the first two releases that I'm aware of from Tasty Minstrel Games, and I had actually bought Terra Prime from them, and although it was a stellar game, haha, pun, it was plagued by some pretty janky production issues, and I had heard that Homesteaders also had those same issues. So I held back, even though it came with pretty high praise, and you know, I've just been waiting for a reprint. Well, la-di freaking da, Homesteaders second edition was recently released, and I leapt on this game because it's something I've really wanted to play. It came recommended as a very strong two-player game. It does play like 2 players to up to 4 players, but anyone that I've talked to that has mentioned this has said that it is a wonderful girlfriend game. So I mean, that is my prime buying pattern, is I buy multiplayer games that also strongly support 2 players. So it was a long time coming, but I eventually got it, and well, let's see if this was worth the wait. This is a 3-player setup for Homesteaders. What you see here are the playing areas for players 1, 2, and 3. The game focuses on this auction board right here. And throughout 10 rounds of the game, players will be bidding on the opportunity to either use this tile, or to move ahead on the railroad development track. At certain points during the game, some of these buildings will disappear to make way for new buildings, which represent the passage of time. We move from the settlement phase to the town phase to the city phase. Before the auction occurs every round, players go through the income phase. And what that means is they look at all the buildings in their homestead, and in the very first round, all they have is their homestead. And they perform all of the automatic abilities, like this one says you get 2 coins, but then you can also assign any available workers into any available worker spaces. So a typical move would be to move your worker into this space, which would grant me 1 wood for the turn. Once income has been received, then all players must pay each of their workers. So at the beginning of the game, each player is going to be paying 1 silver for each of their 1 workers. And now it's time for the auction. So starting with the start player, he can choose to bid on auction 1, auction 2, or simply to pass, which will immediately move him up on this railway development track. The way auctions work is, let's say blue is going to bid on auction 1 and take the $4 spot. I'll then have yellow bid on auction 2. Again, I'll pay $4 or bid $4 to attempt to win that auction. Now what could happen is red may want to outbid someone, and so like they could go onto auction 1 and bid $5, which kicks blue out. Now blue has a decision. They can either outbid someone else or pass. So I'm going to have blue pass, and what this does is it moves blue up on the railway development track, and at this point in time it means that he can take 1 trade token, which he'll do. Red will pay his $5 for this auction, and yellow will pay his $4 for this auction. Because red won auction 1, he now also gets the start player token. Because red won auction 1, he gets this tile. And what this tile says is that he can build a residential or a commercial building. The only catch with doing so is you have to build it immediately and you have to have the resources to do it. So I will have red purchase a farm. And so what this farm says is that in order to build it, I have to have 1 wood, which red has. Red will position the farm by their homestead, pay their 1 wood, and now it's yellow's turn to use their auction tile. Yellow's tile is a little different. This one simply says that I can get 1 worker and advance on the railroad track. So I just grab 1 worker from the stock and move yellow up 1 space, which allows them to get 1 trade token. And now we set up round 2. So all you do for this is you remove all the bid markers and just put them off the board. You flip up the round 2 tiles, and now it's time for income. In this income phase, blue still has the same starting setup. So they're going to get 2 coins and 1 wood and have to pay for 1 worker. Red, however, has more options. So what I'll have red do is reallocate his worker to another space. So I'm going to put him in this food spot from his farm. Now he will take 2 coins from his homestead and 1 food from his farm, and then pay his 1 worker. Yellow has 2 workers available. Since he only has his initial homestead, he'll put both of them in both the worker spots in the homestead. So now yellow is going to get his 2 income as normal, then also get 1 wood and 1 victory point, but now has to pay 2 coins to pay his 2 workers. And now we do the round 2 bidding. So I'm going to have blue bid 4 on auction 1. I'm going to have red bid 3 on auction 2, and I'm going to have yellow pass, which again is going to move yellow up on this railroad development track, and it will give yellow the option of taking either this track token or any previous space, so he could also take this trade token instead. But I will have yellow take one of these railway tokens, and what this means is that every single income turn he's going to get 1 free silver. Everyone now pays for their auctions. Since blue won auction 1, they get the start player and gets to choose a building first. Since blue won this tile, this means that they can only buy an industrial building. So from the available industrial buildings, I'm going to have them buy a steel mill. And the requirements for this are 2 wood and 1 gold. Blue actually doesn't have the required gold in order to make this purchase, so this would be a good time to introduce the marketplace that's in this game. So looking at this card here, you can see all the things that you can buy at the marketplace, and if you look at the opposite side, you can see all the things that you can sell at the marketplace. So since I'm missing a gold, I just look at this to see what it's going to cost me to get a gold. And I can see that it's going to cost me 1 trade token and then 4 silver. Fortunately, blue has enough to do that. There's 4 coins and 1 trade, and so by trading that, I will get 1 gold in return. I can now pay that cost, and so that building is mine. On to red's turn. The tile that they won was an any type tile. So red has the ability to buy an industrial, a residential, or a commercial building if they have the correct resources. Right now, red can really only afford foundry because on this one, there's actually no cost associated with it. So this will just go straight to his homestead. So we set up for the 3rd round. Again, we replaced the auction tiles that are available. We move all the auction cubes down to the bottom, and then we do income. It's the same process as before. Just look at where all your workers are and get resources for those, and look at any buildings that have automatic income. Like this one now gives me a free steel every turn. Players that have any railroads connected to them will always generate an extra silver of income every single turn. And that's pretty much it. The game is played in 10 rounds. All the 10 rounds work pretty identical. And the only exceptions are when you've hit round 5 in the auction pile, all of a sudden all of the old settlement buildings will disappear from the game, and we'll introduce some of the town buildings. And then in round 8, all of the town buildings and all of these settlement/town buildings will disappear, and you'll only see the city buildings for the last 2 rounds. Beyond that, the only thing really worth mentioning is the actual victory conditions of the game. And what that is players count up all the victory points that they earn throughout the game. Also, many of the buildings actually have victory points associated with them, so you add those as well. And at the end of the game, players will get 2 victory points for every livestock, copper, and gold that they have in their inventory. And the only wrinkle in regards to victory points that I should mention is debts, which I never talked about. Debts can be taken at any point during the game, and these allow you to get $2 immediately, and you can pay them back for $5. Now, what a debt does to you is at the end of the game, if you have 1, that is going to cost you 1 victory point if that's in your inventory at the end of the game. Now, if you have 2 debts, what it's going to cost you is it's going to cost you 1 for the first debt and 2 for the second, so that means it's going to cost 3. If you have 3 debts, it costs 1 for the first, 2 for the second, and 3 for the third, so that is minus 6 victory points. And the final thing that I didn't mention is players actually have player screens, and they're pretty useful. They show you the anatomy of a card, they show you how the game rounds work, they show you the final scoring and all the resources and even some basic strategy. And what these shields are used for is they hide all of your money and your resources, and so all that your opponents can really see of your holdings is the actual buildings that you have built. I once asked my girlfriend what was her favorite type of board game, and she wasn't really specific on theme or anything. She just said that one of the things that she likes the most is collecting stuff. And man, that is what this game is about. It's all about collecting your cows and gold and other resources and just, amassing it up and buying all sorts of things. There's buying, sell, buying, sell. There's even a market to deal with that. And yeah, her appetite for collecting stuff was definitely dealt with here. So, do I like the game myself? Yes, I really do. It's incredibly quick. From one round to the next, you're like, wow, I just did a round. Like, we're going round 1, round 2, round 3, just so freaking quick. Well, except for the first game. I gotta just mention right here that it's gonna take you 1 or 2 full games before you really get any even remote form of strategy about what you want to do, because part of the game is exploring all the different tiles that are going to come up, and you're not going to know that without experience. It's unfortunate, but there's no real way that a player aid or anything's going to help you, because you're not going to know what things are worth. But beyond that, I really like the whole just, it's an auction game, and there's a Euro mechanic of building stuff and doing your whole resource dealies. And I love the components of this game. There's these cute little cows that just, as soon as I saw them, I was like excited. I like components. I'm a component guy. So there's apples and workers and iron and copper, and they all look like they're supposed to. And I was just very happy about that. Gameplay wise, I've played this with 4 players and 3 players and with 2 players, and it actually pretty much plays the same anyway. It's actually it's nice because this is an auction game, and those usually don't work for 2 players, but there's a variant in this game that really offsets that whole auction mechanic, and it sort of fills in that 3rd player for you by adjusting the value of a dummy player based on how previous actions have went. So it worked out really well. So yeah, I get extremely high recommendations for this, especially if you like collecting stuff. Now, I just do want to mention that is one of the cons I do have for this game. It's not a perfect product, no game is, and one of the major cons for this is there are so many bits to this game that cleanup is a little bit of a chore. And I'll say that the cleanup is a chore if you do it properly, because when it's all set up for your next game, everything's all there and you can just get going right away. But yeah, that end game cleanup is just a little bit of a pain, but it's a necessity based on how much that comes with it. So it stayed in my collection. I really love this thing, and it's sure to see multiple plays. So just buy it. It's good. Tasty Minstrel Games, you haven't let me down yet.